Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in, and apologies for the late start, but nonetheless, we sat here, we're ready to go. So thanks for tuning in to another edition of Behind the Mic. I'm Pam Rossi, and we are broadcasting live downtown in the beautiful Music Town, live in the D, I like to say. So we are in this amazing facility, Music Town, where I like to bring local artists in and focus on the local musicians and all this great talent that we have around the area, Southeast Michigan. I go a little further than that sometimes, but generally this area, and this is the place to be. So I'm welcoming another guest, and of course, we can't do this without our sponsors. So thank you so much to Michigan State University, Community School of Detroit, and of course, Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation. So thank you to those two sponsors to help us keep this up and running. So again, thank you. This week's guest, I have Marq Speck. Hello, Marq.
Hey, Pam. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, too. Q,
Yes,
as a lot of people, friends and family like to call you.
Absolutely.
Because it's M-A-R-Q.
Yep. Makes it easier to remember. It was actually my wife that started calling me that because I wouldn't always respond to Marq when we used to play out in clubs and stuff. And so she started calling me Q, and it just stuck. And so it's a good way for people. I know they're talking to me then and not the other Marqs that are sitting around here right now.
Was that how it was spelled when you were given a name, or no?
What do I say? No, I had it changed legally in 7th grade, believe it or not. And I did that.
Wait a minute, 7th grade?
I was precocious. And I decided I wanted to be a little more individual, and I said I wanted to spell my name M-A-R-Q, and my folks said, well, if you can figure out how to do that, go ahead, and I did.
They probably didn't expect that.
No,
huh?
so since 7th grade, it's been M-A-R-Q, which is
7th
good.
grade, you're like 12, 10?
Yeah, exactly, a few years ago.
Okay. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so it was just interesting, and most of the people that I've met along the way that spell it that way are all musicians. Every single person I've ever met spelled M-A-R-Q as a musician, and it's interesting to me. Yeah, it is very much so.
See, it's the creative way of spelling your name.
That's it.
So you're in a creative field, kind of goes together. So.
And I was Q before Star Trek and James Bond, but not before Quincy Jones. So he is the real Q, as everybody knows. So I was second in line to that one.
That's funny. That's really cool. In 7th grade, that had to be an indication of your path, I would think.
Hopefully a good one, yes.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So my parents go, oh, this will be great.
So and you didn't have to have, I would think you'd have to be legal age to do that.
Apparently, no. I did it through the court system. I lived in Iowa, and just did it through that whole system. It was basically a form for changing your name more than anything else. You just had to get it. I'm sure they probably signed for it. I mean, because you're right. As my age, I wouldn't have been able to do that.
Right.
But I found out how you did it. This is how you do it, and the rest is now history.
That's funny. I would not have thought that. So good for you. You had right from the get-go, and it's like, okay, you had something in mind. You knew what you wanted to do and be.
Well, I knew I'd be on this show eventually, and I needed a story.
There you
and
go.
That one worked out really well. Yeah.
Well, welcome. Thanks for coming in, Marq.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think back how long we've known each other, but it seems like every time we got to know each other through the Detroit Music Awards, it seems like, I was a presenter many, many years, and it seems like I always read, Sweet Crystal, come up and get your award. So you've got 17 of those.
I know we've met before that. You used to have a show called, what was it, Over Easy?
Oh, yeah.
We broadcast live once with you in Pontiac. You were in some little restaurant or something there, and my guys were backing a singer by the name of Eric Erickson.
Yes.
Really good vocalist.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that was you.
Yeah, I was the keyboard player for him. And so that's why I remember first seeing you, because then I remember talking to you, and I forget who the engineer was at the time, but just saying, how can we get on the show? So that's how far back I remember you.
Oh my gosh, I apologize. I did not realize that. Remember that. I remember that show and having Eric on. And we were live, yeah.
Well, hairstyles change, outfits change. It could have even been a different color for all I know.
Wow.
But I remember that. So, and your Over Easy show was always great for promoting local musicians and stuff.
Well, that's what I like about this Music Town. I can still promote local musicians, and there's so many out there that just don't get a chance to do that. So,
absolutely.
All right. Well, wow. Blast from the past.
There
Thank
you.
All right. So, as I said, Sweet Crystal is really, the name of your band that you've been doing 40
a while.
years? Okay. Is it
decades.
Decades.
Yes. We like to say decades.
Decades.
Yeah.
Zades, yes.
Nice. Myself, guitar player Bill Blatter, and drummer Steve Weezer started the band back when can't remember the exact year, but a long time
Yeah,
ago,
yeah.
the three of us have been through quite a few different iterations, meaning different musicians come and go, but the three of us are still together all these decades later, and it's really the core of Sweet Crystal. And so when we talk about the DMAs and the stuff that we've run, it's a collective there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
the three of us that have defined and continue to refine Sweet Crystal and who we are.
Well, and Sweet Crystal is a Christian rock band, but you were more the heavier rock and roll before that, weren't you? Or did
Well,
you
yeah.
progressive rock, I guess?
Up until God finally shook us and said, you know what, there's actually a point to your lives. We were basically a cover bar band, still doing originals. We started doing originals right from day one, which is nice.
Yeah.
I mean, but we were influenced a lot from the English music of the 70s, like bands like Pink Floyd and King Crimson, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, those kind of bands. So that was the progressive background of the music we liked,
Okay.
and we wrote. Most of our songs back then were 7, 13, 17-minute long, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a lot more forgivable back then because people were doing it, people were listening to it. There was
Right.
a lot more free-form radios and stuff. So that's how we started out doing that kind of thing. And then we just eventually, because of some instances in our life and some things that we went through, you know, it became very evident that God is real in our lives and has a purpose to who we are and what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And it really, it's that core belief that has kept us going all these years, and that we try to reflect in our music and our lives.
I remember one of the first times I saw a Christian rock band, and I thought, this is interesting. It's not like,
It's not your mama's gospel.
it wasn't. And it was, I mean, couldn't even tell you who it was.
Sure.
But I'm thinking, wow, this is some good rock and roll. But, you just, even with the lyrics, if you had to really think, at least the band that I was hearing,
Sure.
you had to really listen to the lyrics to even get the realization that
what they're
they're talking about, and that they're a Christian rock. But it was all about rock and roll, and they were having a good old time up there on the stage. And
I'll tell you what's interesting is for every genre of non-sacred music, not Christian rock or stuff, there is a genre in the Christian industry of that same type of stuff. If you like pop, if you like R&B, if you like gospel, if you like country, there are Christian bands playing those genres.
Yeah.
And now, because of technology and stuff, when Christian rock first started out, it sounded more like garage bands because they didn't have major labels behind them. They didn't have the big studios that, pop stars or, FM
Right,
stars had.
right.
Now, technology is a leveling force for everybody. So anybody can make a good sounding recording. Not everybody can write a good song,
Right, right.
but so what's interesting to me is, like you said, there were bands that were progressive Christian bands. There were bands that were just middle of the road pop Christian bands. There were country bands. So the difference is the message that you're trying to get across. What Sweet Crystal hopes to do with everything we do is leave you after a song realizing that there's some kind of hope, there's some kind of answer to something you're going through. Because chances are somebody in my band has gone through what you're dealing with. And so we're not a beat you over the head with Jesus band. We're this is what happened to us, and this is how we got out.
Yeah.
If you're interested, man, we can maybe help you too with this.
Well, so many songs, and I've heard several big artists say that before. That people say, well, what does that mean? What was the meaning behind that song? And I've heard some big artists say, whatever it means to you. They're not going to tell, they didn't want to explain what it was because everybody hears a song and hears something different from it. And, that's what he was saying. And for some reason, Paul McCartney's in my head, but I don't know if that was who said it. And it was like, yeah, this is how I relate to your song. This is what I get out of your song. And that's good enough because everybody will hear it differently.
And a positive message, even if not delivered in a Christian rock vein, is still a positive message. That's what I'm really hoping that it comes across with stuff that we listen to and that other people listen to, is that if you can walk away feeling better about yourself after hearing something, that's great, because there's enough negativity in the world.
Yeah.
There's enough tough stuff to have somebody sing at you and make you realize, oh man, it's just as bad as I thought it was. Now what?
Well, that's no fun.
I know. So
That is no fun. So why don't we go hit a song?
Okay.
And there's a lot more to talk about, but
I appreciate
got
that.
the keyboards here, and of course, Sweet Crystal. Why do I have to?
It's hard. You know
Sweet
what?
Crystal.
The R's are hard for me
Oh, my
too. I
goodness.
actually had speech therapy when I was a little kid because I couldn't say R's. and that was a tough one. So now,
I usually
luckily I
don't
can
have
get
trouble
past
with
it.
it, but
But that is
sweet Crystal. And so now, as you can see, he's here by himself. We'll talk about all of that as well. But so what do you got for us today, Mark?
from our latest CD, 5 Carat Rock. A lot of the songs that we do have storylines to them, and I don't write a lot of my songs in the straight verse, bridge, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus thing. I write a little more interesting at times, and this song is all about different people that you meet on the street, out in the world, and sometimes it's how you react to their situation that defines you as much as it hopefully helps them. And this is the tune entitled Can't Turn Back. There's a man on the street who's had little to eat, barely a dime to his name. He gambled and lost at impossible cost any chances at fortune or fame. Well, you'll find him on street corners, sleeping in alleys in cities and towns across this land. And when you see him, do you turn to flee him or reach out and offer your hand? There's a child down the block just learning to walk, dreaming how one day he'll fly. With every new step, he's got no regrets, whatever direction he'll try. But later in school, he will break the wrong rule. He'll stumble and finally drop out. And it's realistic, he'll become a statistic unless someone turns him around. Oh, it's realistic, he'll become a statistic once somebody turn him around. Now listen, there are shelters in town where new mothers are found. There's young girls with babies their own. And sadly apparent that boyfriends and parents, yeah, no longer welcome them home. So what should we say when we're shown shades of gray and we know what's black and what's white? Yeah. Heartbreak and heartache, missteps and mistakes, injustices we can make right. Yeah. Heartbreak and heartache, missteps and mistakes, injustices we can make right. Now listen, as we travel these roads, let's all help with the loads that are causing each other to fall. So when we get home and kneel down by the throne in answer to God's clarion call, well, we might be surprised by the smile in his eyes as he tells us the things we got right, and forgiving our sins, recounting the wins of the souls brought from darkness to light. Oh, forgiving our sins, recounting the wins of the souls that we brought to the light. Yeah. So we can't turn back, no, we can't turn back. When we're on the right track, Lord, we can't turn back. Said we can't turn back, no, we can't turn back. The simple fact is we can't turn back. There's a man on the street who's had little to eat, barely a dime to his name. He gambled and lost at impossible cost any chances at fortune or fame. Whew. See that mic move?
Yes.
That's the thrill of live.
Yes.
Ugh.
We were talking about that earlier. because you pretty much bring this simple little setup here, one keyboard
the
with
baby
this
cue.
cool, yeah, because you are now doing wait, let me grab my card here.
Sure.
The Solo But Never Alone is what you're doing now. So I wanted to talk about that because obviously you're here by yourself and kind of venturing out solo. So what was the
mindset behind that is
yeah.
it's not egotistical, because this is scarier than playing out with my guys.
It's all you.
Yeah, I know. It's
no
all
one
me.
to back you
I
up.
have to remember the words and catch the microphone. But what it is basically, I thought this year, I've retired from, I shouldn't say real work, because this is a passion for me, but we retired from our day gigs. And so I wanted to get back into music full time, something I did when I was younger. And I thought, well, how can we do this? Because not everybody has the same availability as I do in the band. But we still feel that the music and the songs have a point to get out to people. So I thought, well, let me try this on my own, just to see if the songs come across with the same impact for their message. And I really wanted to test myself. I said, because the comfort factor is different. I'm not surrounded by my guys. I'm not surrounded by my stacks of gear. So, like you said, it's you and you alone. And I thought, let me get out and see if these songs relate to people on this level versus what we've been doing most of our lives. And I just thought, you know what, now's the time. I've got the time. We can travel if we have to. And I think a one keyboard solo show can sometimes work better in like a coffee house setting, or maybe a church setting, or just anywhere that the full band wouldn't fit musically. Not the songs, but just the production value.
Yes,
so
tone down a little bit.
Yes, so I thought, well,
More
maybe
raw.
I can do that. And I see all these friends of mine that are out doing these open mics and stuff, and I go, well, I don't know if the guys could do that with me, but if I got comfortable being able to take one keyboard and play, then those are things to get our name out, and hopefully if they like what I'm doing, they will pursue me and find out about Sweet Crystal, and then like what those guys are doing too. So,
well, you got to try it. And
Yes.
like you said, it's kind of like out of the comfort zone, but it's
and I
good
call it Solo But Never Alone because basically God is with me wherever I go. I mean, that's the whole point of what I'm doing. So it's that kind of reminder to myself. All right, you're standing by yourself here, but you're not alone.
Right.
And if you hear some of the backing tracks that I use, well, my band's still with me.
Yeah.
I've got some guitar.
cheating
and
a little bit,
so,
but
Yeah, I think I'm going to print up a picture of the guys in the band and stand them around on the keyboard, just so when they go out, oh, this is him. So.
There you go. And actually, this is the first time you're
It is. This is the
testing
debut,
the waters here.
which is why it didn't go on right away, right? We decided to wait till I got rid of my nerves. We'll wait for 25 minutes. Okay, he's ready to play now. Let's do this.
Yeah, we'll blame it on you.
Yeah,
no,
I'll take the blame.
No, I don't want to do that. So testing the waters, and I mean, do you have a different gig set up already with just you? And
My next one, which is out in public, is on February 8th.
Okay.
With Steve Taylor, a friend of ours, does a singer-songwriter showcase every second Thursday in Birmingham.
Right.
And so he's invited me out to this next one. So that'll be the first time doing this with a crowd, with an audience right there that you can see. So
that'll be a big test for you, huh?
It will be. That'll be totally different, and see how that things. But so that's February 8th. It's like 7 o'clock. I think it's called the Bread and Bird, although they're changing the restaurant itself. The guy is actually redoing the inside of it to make it more friendly for live entertainment, for one thing. And he owns apparently another wine restaurant, and so it's going to be like an offshoot from his other one. So the gig is still on. It's in the back room, which is called the Elm Room. If the front's not open, then there's a whole back entrance to it. But
I love when those kinds of businesses take a chance and put the music out there, and people want to hear it. And a lot of times you go out for a nice dinner, you want to hear some background music. I mean, they don't give you 100% attention all the time, but a restaurant type of thing or a coffee house is kind of nicer than the bar, because the bar, people are drinking and they get a little wilder and everything. But
and as people get to know you as a performer, you're hoping that it'll resonate. Well, they'll come back looking for you.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. I'll be very curious to see how this works out. But regardless, it's fun.
You don't know till you try it.
I know.
And here's your launch.
Do I know my own songs?
Well, when you do this one in public, come in February, you can always have your wife standing in the audience with two little cutouts of Steve and Bill. So
just think
a
of
little comfort there.
Gosh. It'll be fun.
You'll do fine. You'll do fine. Yeah.
We've been over there a couple times for his last few shows, and he does a really nice job of production, and the caliber of people. I would say 90% of them I had never heard of before. Now I'm walking around going, these people are great.
Okay.
I mean, and so that's what you're hoping, that you'll walk away from something like that, is to learn about new
That's
stuff. And
yeah.
it's
Those are the
very
kinds of
cool.
places I like. It's like, wow, I never knew, you know.
No.
And of course, the position I'm in, it's kind of nice. You know, people are approaching me,
Sure.
and it's like I have to research or something, or I'm not familiar. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of amazing
And
artists
that's
in
just
this area.
here. Imagine every city in the United States, and then of course outside the United
Oh, yeah.
States. I mean, the amount of talent that's out there. The tough thing is because there's so much talent out there, you might get lost in the
Sure.
the tsunami of what you can find. But once again, this point in our lives with technology and the internet and stuff. Well, not the internet. Let's not talk about the internet right now. After this 20 minutes start, this point, little bands, brand new bands, new performers have a way to get their music
Right.
out that never existed when we first started.
Oh,
So
it's changed definitely.
you may get lost in the overall volume of stuff, but the fact is you now are out somewhere where people can find
Well, I
you.
think a lot of musicians have said you have to go out live, or you really get lost because the internet is
Yep.
infinite. So you have to go out and play.
That's
and do you plan to go out further? Other than Southeast Michigan, is that the goal?
Well, myself, I would be able to do it. My wife and I could do that, and that's what I'm hoping, that this will open up some opportunities, because we don't have any children, we don't have any pets, and so it'll be nice to be able to
You and
just
your
pack up and
keyboard.
go. That's it. This is me and this thing. But so we'd be able to do that. So I'm hoping, that would open some doors. We have a friend who's doing a Christian metal concert out in California.
That just sounds funny. Christian metal.
I know. And I just said, man, if we could get out there, I said I'd be glad to MC it, because
Yeah.
I would do that. Come out and just play some stuff and just.
It's
why
wide
not?
open for what you can do. Just
And this thing is so, I hate to say this, but this thing is so inexpensive compared to the stuff in my studio and the big rigs that I carry. I could actually just fly out to California, go to Guitar Center, buy one and play there and not even worry about it and take it back and go, I'm sorry, it's not working. No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. But that's how you could do it. I mean, so you could just show up and buy one there and play it instead of worrying about, I'm going to ship my stuff, is going to make it. No, let's go out there and pick
Good
it up.
point.
It's so
Yeah.
inexpensive. Then you turn around and you give it to a children's hospital or something, take it off your taxes and go, here, give it to the kids to learn
There you
how to
go.
play. So
there's all kinds of
benefits that you could do for people with stuff like that.
yeah, for kids to learn an instrument. So yeah, how about another song?
Okay.
All right.
Well, if you know anything about Sweet Crystal and the band, we have a real heart for the men and women in the armed forces.
Yes.
Matter of fact, the reason we got back together as a performing band and not just studio work was working for a friend of ours that had something called the Vet Fest some 11, 12 years ago. And he knew our band back when we first started out, and he wanted to know, is there any chance you guys could play this veterans benefit that I'm putting together, because he was a Vietnam vet. And we said, sure. And so at that point we said, you know what, we got a lot of new songs, let's put those together. And ever since then, we've been out playing. Ever since then, more recognition from Detroit Music Awards. Nobody knew who we were before that. And so now whenever we can, for Wounded Warrior Project or Homeless Vets, whenever we can, that's who we like playing for. It's we feel that you don't have to support any war. I mean, but you have to support every warrior. And this next song, Warriors, is all about the men and women that go out and protect us, but also about the family that's back here with their own sacrifice while their loved ones in harm's way, more or less. And so this is a tune entitled Warriors. I'm sending out this prayer for all the warriors, standing guard, preparing for the fight. I'm praying for your strength and for your courage through the night. I'm praying that you all return home safely and welcome you back to friendly shores. And I pray you know God is with you, give you shelter from your storms. I'm sending out this prayer for all the mothers who worry for their children every day, stationed in a lonely foreign land, a world away. And I'm
fathers who in silence are shedding a tear that no one sees, crying out for their sons and their daughters. Lord, please send them home to me, and I will pray for you. Will you pray for me? And together lift our voices to the sun. When we pray as one, asking how will it be done, we will stand upon the promise that we'll see your kingdom come. Oh, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to that republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for each and every one of us. Well, I will pray for you. Will you pray for me? Together lift our voices to the very sun. Oh, when we pray as one, we ask, how will it be done? We stand upon the promise that we'll see your kingdom come. I'm sending out this prayer for all the warriors facing down those very gates of hell, praying for that soldier who lies buried where he fell. And I pray for you saints and for us sinners, knowing this one thing is true: we are all God's children. And this prayer we pray for you, it's an everyday reminder. It's the least we can do for you.
Sounds like you had a full band there.
There you go. I'd like to thank the band for showing up today.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
That's with these the keyboards. You can, just add all these different things.
It's really nice too, because those are actually our tracks. I mean, those are all my guys and me recording all those parts. That one, a friend of ours, Kathy Oyster, who you can find on Facebook, sang the backup vocals with us and stuff. So what's fun about Sweet Crystal, and I know it's a backing track because I really still like the oomph of that song with all that stuff. It's us. It's not like anybody else did it. So anytime I use tracks, it's from my guys. So that makes it
sense. Yeah.
It makes it very comfortable.
That makes sense. All right, time for the Pam exam.
Oh, what's in the jar?
It's questions.
Well, how funny. I happen to have a jar of my own,
Oh, what?
which just happens to contain random answers for any question that somebody might ask me that I wouldn't have a good answer for. So, all right.
That's funny. This is a first. Okay.
All right, let's see how these work.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious. I know how rough you can be on interviewees.
No, I'm not. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm afraid to ask a question.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
here
I'm
we go.
afraid of the answer. now.
Here. Well, this will be interesting.
What?
What is your go-to song to sing while in the shower?
Oh, let's see.
Are you serious? She's not going to answer. He's going to pull out a
Oh,
question.
let's see what the answer is right here.
Oh, this is a first.
Well, it would be headline a world tour sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza and Death Wish Coffee, which is kind of like a polka that I wrote. Well, maybe that one didn't quite work.
No,
Wait and
no.
see.
Okay.
In the shower, you know what I do? I actually sing my stuff to try to warm up the vocal cords, because I had vocal cord surgery many
Oh,
years
yeah, I
ago.
heard about that,
Yeah, in
yeah.
the 80s. and I had a hole in one of my vocal cords. It was called a congenital cyst. Apparently I had it since I was born, but because of what I did playing and wise, it eventually hurt it more and more to the point where I had to have surgery. And after the surgery, thank God I can still sing and play and stuff, but it changed the range of my voice, and it made me a little more tentative about singing. So in the shower, you don't have to sing loud, but you can sing and you can try to do stuff like that.
I bet
so,
all that steam really helps you
yes,
too.
and so that's what I do in the shower. I don't really sing too many other people's songs because I don't know a lot of other people's songs. I know a lot of my songs, so that's what I do. So
Did you do you think if you weren't a singer that you would never have known that you had this?
probably not, because at first I had an allergist that said, well, you're allergic to smoke, so stay out of smoky places. Well, it was freaking bar scene, what are you going to do? So I would have thought it would have been that, but it wasn't until it really became very difficult to sing.
I can't imagine if I lose my
But
voice.
I still would like to headline a world tour sponsored by Little Caesars Pizza and Death Wish Coffee. As you can tell, I drink a lot of it. Thank you. I'm not giving up on I'm not giving up on this answer, Jack. What you got?
You really threw me for a loop here.
I'm
Mark.
sorry.
That's okay. Is there a quote you live your life by or think of often? You're going to get another.
Yes, I live by this. Write a Broadway-style musical based on the songs of Sweet Crystal and cast it totally with talent from Michigan. I think of that every morning. I get up and go, there's a Broadway song right here. There's a story here getting up.
Why do I feel like, and I forget the term right off the top of my head, like when you're watching TV and they, flash those little things.
Subliminal.
Subliminal, yeah.
Very good. I hadn't thought, you know what? I could have just given you a good answer, just sat here like this going. So that would work for me.
Oh, gosh.
So is there something, you know what? I don't want to be cliche, but Bible verses, first thing I wake up in the morning, I go, I could do all things through Christ, man. And then I get up and go, if he's for me, who can be against me? So those are very inspirational, and so the more I can remember those, even during a quick moment during the day when somebody's just nipping at your freaking heels, then you just kind of go, if he's for me, nobody can be against me, and you just keep going.
What was your very first job?
Yeah, that's enough of that. My very first job would have been, I worked in a kitchen of a restaurant called the Bloomfield Canopy, 15 Mile on Orchard Lake Road, back long time ago. And right out of high school, I did that. And it was working in the kitchen, food prep and that kind of stuff. It was a very high-end restaurant.
Start off in, that
it was good. It was
very,
it was a tough gig, but it was good. If you got the day shift, at 10 o'clock in the morning, all the fresh rolls came out of the ovens. Everybody stopped, and we all sat there and ate. I learned how to cut frog legs in two, and I learned how to make baked potatoes into hash browns. And I use those skills to this day.
So you consider yourself a good cook?
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, I also worked for a restaurant in Ann Arbor that no longer exists too. Hey, wait a minute! Everywhere I worked, they closed down.
Don't let that.
It was called Lums, and it was up on North Campus, U of M, and I was one of the main chefs there too. Well, cooks, because they weren't chefs at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so I'm very good at cooking, and I like experimenting, and haven't found a food I haven't liked yet. So.
Okay. I wish I could say I'm just not a good cook.
Wow.
Not.
Well, you don't have to be. Just make people take you out to dinner all the time.
All right, I'm open.
There we go. I see Ryan back there.
Feel free, take me out. I'm not.
Not opposed to it.
Not opposed. If you could have any one person in your band, and at this point, dead or alive, who would it be, or you would collaborate with? Who would you?
Yeah, I don't think I'd put him in the band, but collaborating, how interesting. But that's interesting. You know who I would collaborate with would be somebody like Alan Parsons, who is a producer, if you know who he is. He's also a musician, a writer, and that kind of stuff. But a lot of the music that I wrote growing up always reminded me of stuff that he put together and all the different influences he had with all the different bands that he worked with. We've worked with some really, really good producers. If I can throw a name out here, Chuck Alcasian over at Pearl Sound is one that's really sculpted the sound of our last two CDs. Okay. But for some reason, I just thought Alan Parsons had an ear, and he also wrote in a lot of the chord progressions and keys that I like. And I just thought, man,
Parsons,
if he could hear some of our stuff, what would he do with it?
Oh, interesting.
So not so much a musician, although he's a musician. My wife and I went and saw him live just down the road here at what's now the Fillmore.
Fillmore. Okay.
Yeah, so they played down there, and it was a stealth tour. They announced it in the morning, and he played that night because it was a new CD coming out, and he wanted to try it out. So we went down there. We got tickets. We were in the second table from the stage,
Yeah,
going
nice.
and heard this whole newest release.
Do you ever, when you're writing something, do you ever think, what would producer so and so do with this song, or how would he or she make this sound?
Well, I have to say, and we've talked about this with the band before, because of the experience for the last 2 CDs with Chuck, we have a whole different education now on how this thing works, and we've already incorporated his ideas into our writing. So yeah, that would definitely come into play. I haven't worked with that. We worked with a gentleman named Henry Weck. He was the original drummer for Brownsville Station.
Oh, okay.
He's smoking in the boys' room, and so he produced our very first release back in the '80s, and he had a way of listening things that sculpted us for there. And to go even farther back, there was a gentleman by the name of Ollie McLaughlin. Back in the '60s and '70s, he was the producer for songs like Cool Jerk, Sonny and Cher, I Got You Babe. He was in the Atlantic Records stable, and he happened to go into retirement and then came out and heard us, and came out of retirement saying, "This is a band I want to produce because it's been a long time since
that's
I've heard
impressive.
it." It was very impressive, and he taught us how to take our 13 minutes opus songs and turn it into a 3 and 4 minute tune. So it was his production and his abilities that got us into writing like we do now.
Yeah.
I mean, so you can still get the point. I still like big giant things. I like listening to
Once
that.
in a while,
But to play it when you're only given 30 minutes on a stage, when it's a multi-band event, you want to get as many of your songs into
Right.
there as
You
you
don't
can.
want one
Yeah,
big,
here's our
long song.
27. Yeah, and then what? You're done.
No, that makes sense, yeah.
So producers have affected us, and for the good. I don't know any people out right now that I would say I'd like to do that. Back when Queen was big, Roy Thomas Baker was huge too, because we used to do a lot of Queen stuff when we were the bar band cover stuff.
Yeah.
And his production style was killer for vocals and stuff. So everybody has something that they're really, really good at, and if you can pick up on it, it's just going to benefit you.
Producer is a big part of making a good a record good or not.
Probably more than people realize.
Yeah.
If they aren't in the business or haven't gotten to the level that we're at, where
Yeah.
you're working in studios like that, you probably don't say, "Why would I need that? I can just do it myself."
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they have an ear and they can hear something. Go try it this way. It's pretty cool.
Our stuff definitely benefits from that kind of outside influence, because I have a studio that I own at my place, and I can go in there and I could spend weeks on one song, and it can be
Weeks.
as huge as I want it to be, but it can be too big.
Yeah,
And it's not until you get somebody who has an ear, can listen to it and go, "Do you really need 127 string parts?" Probably not. I mean, you can probably scale that down to 1 or 2.
Yeah. All right. What is your guilty pleasure?
German chocolate cake. Oh. From Iverson's Bakery.
You're drooling.
Yeah, from Iverson's Bakery, if I can give them a plug in Dearborn. Oh my gosh.
Well, they've been around a long time.
Oh, real long. They used to have a lot more things, but the main one is still there on Outer Drive. Every major occasion. So we have birthday, somebody I love, my birthday, somebody I love, Christmas, anniversary. We go and buy, we used to buy an 8-inch German cake, which is freaking huge for 2 of us.
Yeah.
Now we do 9 inches. I don't think the
you
refrigerator
were gonna
will
go smaller.
hold the 10-inch. No, this stuff is so good. That's a guilty
German
pleasure.
chocolate cake
And
from Iverson.
it's amazing. And the thing is, we have to only buy it on occasion, because if you ate that all the freaking time, I mean, the rest of the world would just walk past you, because you'd be just coma. But it's really, so I say I don't like to say guilty, because it makes it sound like it's bad, but it is so good.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
There's another plug.
there you go. Those subliminal things just
That's
keep
it.
popping out here. All right, one last question here. If you were a spice, what would it be?
What an interesting question. What kind of spice would I be? Probably vanilla. Because it's a nice taste. It's not too overwhelming. And probably safe. So that's a good one. But I like vanilla. I like I like vanilla lattes. I just like the taste. So for me, it would be fine, but it wouldn't be so overwhelming that somebody go, "Oh, I can't handle this."
Yeah.
But I don't know if everybody likes vanilla. So.
I don't think I've ever met anybody that doesn't like vanilla.
Really?
So
Sweet. Then they're gonna love
you're good.
me.
You're in, Mark. You're good. How about another song?
I'd love to.
All right.
Let's think what we want to play here.
Oh, you didn't know?
Oh, yeah. I thought about different ones, trying to figure out what would make. Forgive this.
You still have this mic issue there.
Yeah, I can see it slowly coming down. There we go. I just didn't want to.
That's what happens when you're the musician and you're the roadie. These
Yeah.
kind of issues come up.
Yeah, my roadie's sitting back going, "Yeah, see, that's why you needed me. But I didn't bring him." talking about the warrior theme and the armed forces theme, I wrote a song that originally, I thought it was about the prodigal son and about how he walks away, leaves, and eventually he figures out who he is and comes back. But then by the time I was done with the song, I realized this was a little more positive message, and it reminded me of a soldier going off to war telling, at this point, the girlfriend or the wife that he left behind that, be strong, I will be back, this is something I have to do. And then in the overall scheme of things, I realized, this also works on the level of Jesus Christ going back to heaven. He did what he had to do here. He's going to heaven to build houses for us, get his dad to build us a mansion, and he would be back. So I thought, you know what, this song works on a variety of levels. So whichever one you're more comfortable with, that's how you can. Like you said, you could listen to the same song, whatever message came out.
Right.
And this is the tune entitled Us Eternally.
Do you remember the first time we met? I promised a heaven that you hadn't seen yet, and the light in my eyes brightened all your dark skies, and in time I made you mine. Well, this is the last time that I'll have to leave. While I'm away, I just ask that you believe in the words that I said. The road's open ahead, and I swear I will be there. And how I love you, and I told you I would come back just to hold you again. And right from the start, when I touched your hand, you touched my heart. I look into your eyes, this is what I see, a glimpse of paradise, us eternally. All that I'm asking is that you be strong and wait here in courage and hope while I'm gone. And like a new morning after some dark and stormy nights, well, it'll be all right. And how I love you, and I told you I would come back just to hold you again. And right from the start, when I took your hand, you took my heart. I look into your eyes, this is what I see, a glimpse of paradise, yeah, us eternally. I look into your eyes, I've not seen, ears have not heard, power, the passion, the might of the word, all of these things, well, I swear will come through for you. Right. This is what I see, a glimpse of paradise, us eternally. I look into your eyes, I've not seen, ears have not heard, power, the passion, the might of the word, all of these things I swear will come true for you. All that I'm asking is that you hold on and wait for me, angel. I won't be long.
Did you teach yourself piano, or did you have lessons?
Yes. I had lessons for a while when I was young. And what happened was I didn't learn from the teacher. What I found out is I had a photographic memory.
Oh,
And what she played, we sat down and she played the music. I memorized her hands. I never learned, I would never realize the music was what you were trying to do. So 6 months, 7 months in, you know, we're doing this, and my sister had lessons and she would practice. I had never practiced. We just went back and we'd play because I knew what she did. So I did. Eventually, she got smart and put different music up there, and we played it. And I played what she played, and she goes, "Do you know what any of this stuff is?" And no. And that was into that. So I never had lessons after that, but because of that, I had a love for music, you know. And
so, I mean, obviously you can read music now.
yeah, but I
Kind of?
don't. I don't
No.
really do it.
Okay.
You know, I
How
can
do you write songs? If you don't,
just exactly like that. I will come up to a keyboard and just hit a chord and go, "Wow, I like this." You know, and
Okay.
I'll just start putting it together. And I know the names of the chords.
okay.
You know, so that's what it is. You go from C to an A minor, and then I yell them out to the guys in the band. I say, and then I want to go down to here. You know, and so we said, this is what we do. And eventually we get around, because we have the studio, I can go in and record it, and I can overdub stuff. I can do everything that I want to do, but I don't really read music. A few times I've needed it. I've needed another player to come in, and they needed
Interesting.
music. Luckily, today's software is smart enough that I can spit out chord charts, or I can spit out, you know, staffed music for people. And I can sit there and look at it and go, all right, I know what this is. I know what this is. But watching me play that is nowhere near watching me play. So that's really, whenever I work on somebody new, like right now I'm working with David Winans and his Pi project, I'll just say, what are the chords, man? Just tell me what the chords are, and I can play them.
Okay.
You know, but if he said, here's a sheet music, I could go, that'd be great. What are the chords? And that's just me.
that's
So I
interesting.
feel pretty blessed that I have just an innate ability to do this. You know, I don't take it for granted, that's for sure. And I'm a little humbled in the sight of somebody who can actually just put sheet music down and knock it out and just
So
go.
all that theory, music theory, and all that
No,
stuff. You,
never had it.
Yeah.
In theory, no.
Wow. Well, it's interesting you say that because, you know, like many of kids to piano lessons, myself
Did you?
as
Right.
well. And I had a teacher that would, okay, here's some new music, slide over, and she'd play it. Unfortunately, I didn't have the photogenic memory
Right.
like you, but I would remember how it sounded.
Good.
So I never learned how, you know, okay, play the C. I didn't do
But
that
you-
either.
but you
so
could still
for
play
all you
from what you
future
know.
piano teachers out there, do not do that because it didn't help us. You
Right,
know?
you need to figure out, and it could be that by now the teaching methods are different. I don't know,
I'm sure,
but
yeah.
you know, it could be an easier way to do it. But now you've got keyboards that the keys will actually light up in color when here's
Oh.
a C chord. I go, "Oh, that-" But you can't see it on stage, so I had to leave it at home. you know.
People are wondering why all these lights keep
Yeah, what's all those
flashing
lights?
up on you.
Here's the next song right here. Follow it.
Yeah, no, so, you know, I mean, I can go back and go, okay, FACE, face, you
Right,
know, or
yep.
every good boy deserves
you're right.
whatever it was. But, you know, just to look at it and play it, I don't have that connection,
No,
which is.
but there are some very, very good people that do that. We, for a little while last year, we had a couple of ladies singing with us on stage, and Melina and Jill teaches piano. And so we actually got her to actually play on stage, which was really nice, you know, to sit down and have another
Yeah.
keyboard player there. It was very, very cool. But I know that she plays very, very fluidly and, you know, reads music and writes music that way. So I'm a little intimidated at times for people that can do that, but I just don't let them know.
So you probably wouldn't do a dueling band, piano type gig.
But you know what? That's interesting because I don't know if they play off of music like that, or do they just know
I
that
think
many
it's just
freaking
by,
songs?
Yeah, I think it's
Well,
by ear and, you know, playing off each
yeah,
other.
so I think if I'd learned the tunes, I could do that. But we did the cover band thing for 15 years. We made a living at it. At one point, we were 5 guys in the band. We had a 4-man road crew, 6.5 tons of gear.
Oh, my.
We played.
Well, you opened up for big names, you know, like Steppenwolf,
Yeah, we did.
Nazareth, Bob Seger.
So that's what
I
we
mean,
did.
yeah.
You know, and so at that point, we did a lot of different songs besides the originals. But we were a cover band, and those days when you played in clubs, you played 4 or 5 sets a night. people don't do that nowadays. I
Yeah,
mean, unless you're a dance band, a cover band that still does probably 2 or 3 per night. But the young kids coming up have no idea how much we used to have to play to make a living at it, and
Right,
that's what we
right.
did. I don't think you can make a living at it anymore, the way the industry is set up.
Thank goodness you loved it.
Exactly, and that's how we got as proficient at what we do as we are, because we played so much, and that's tough for a new band coming out, because there's not that many places to play
Right.
consistently. you
Right,
know,
right,
so
right. So yeah, you
that
lucky
was
for
our school.
You were
That was our school.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
we came out of college and just played. We toured for a long time. Went way up north in Canada. We actually passed the Arctic watershed line in one of our gigs, which is where all lakes and rivers flow to the Arctic Ocean. That's how far north we were at one point. We just got, what are we
Cold?
doing up here? Yeah, and out in the middle of it took 24 hours to get there. We had no
How the heck did you book
idea.
something like that?
We just had booking agents back in the day
Oh,
that
okay.
apparently didn't like us. Let's go up there. No, but we did a lot in Canada. We actually played at a few clubs at the same time we were playing there. Rush was playing there. Supertramp was playing there. So it was very interesting before they became who they became.
Yeah.
So it was just fun. In Canada, there was quite a heyday of places to play over there. You go to
Not so much anymore, though.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
You know, not that I'm aware of. And that's,
Well, now that you're solo,
Yeah, it's
never
true.
alone, you need to
yeah, go
venture
over to,
out
yeah,
and
go
find
over
these
to Niagara
places.
Falls, both sides, man.
There you go.
But now you just never know. And I'm hoping to find some kind of management or a booking
okay.
agent that has the idea of how to do this. I mean, right now it's always been Sweet Crystal. It's always been us. I do pretty much all the booking and the book work and all the promo for the band, and it's nice.
It's a lot of work.
I do. It is a lot of work.
Mhm.
It's a constant, everyday thing. But it'd be nice to have somebody come in and go, you know what, we can just do this and this for a while, just to take a little bit of the burden
I'm
off.
sure there's a manager out there that that
It'd be
would
fun.
like to do that. Yeah.
It'd be very interesting to see how that would work out. But why not? I mean, at this point, it's all just fun right now. I mean, there's no real pressure on me to do anything.
Well, you're experimenting with it. You're going to see how it goes. Yeah.
And the band still gets together. We get together every weekend. We have for
What, jam
decades.
sessions?
Yeah, we
Okay.
record everything that we do when we're in the studio. We work on new stuff. We work on the set, but we work on new ideas. And
Don't want to get stale.
no, because you will get stale.
Yeah, yeah.
But we just happen to like each other. We love each other as brothers in Christ and as men. And it's amazing after all these years. There are no fights. There's no arguments. There's no ill will ever been with the three of us. And now we have a bass player, Martin, who's been with us a year. And he drives all the way in from west side of Lansing
Wow.
for rehearsals. I mean, that's some sweet dedication there.
The dedication is for
so
sure.
it's cool having a 4-piece again, because that opens up even more song opportunities. And I didn't mean to bother you with that jar, but
Oh,
I remember
threw me for
watching
a
you.
loop there.
Yeah, I just thought this is going to be fun, man. But I didn't know what kind of answers to put in there. I tried to keep them all very nice and generic, but
Yeah,
I
that
just
was the
thought,
first, Mark. Thank
yeah, it
you.
was just to get a smile out of you, man.
You did. Well, it's been a pleasure having you
Thank
on
you.
here today, and good luck on your solo but never alone tour.
Thank
and,
you very much. I
got the little
appreciate
flyer.
that.
Oh, and I've got one of the first,
It's actually the first. That's
pin,
the first.
Sweet Crystal pin.
That's it. That's the Q logo right there. I had
Yeah.
a young gentleman from the Philippines design that
Oh,
for me.
nice.
So that's international, and I only made 50 of them. That's
Oh.
the only. You're
Okay,
the only
there's
person
only
wearing them.
49 left, so-
That's it. And they're not going out to just anybody. Believe me.
Ah, I'm special there.
Yeah,
Thank you. I
absolutely.
appreciate it.
Thank
so,
you, Pam.
Yeah, it's been great, and good luck on your new thing with
Yeah,
the solo. And
appreciate that.
I'm sure, you'll do fine. Of course, you still kind of have the band with you.
You know what?
in
Yeah,
the tracks.
there's
and all.
only so much of my safety blanket I'm getting rid of. I'm still
Yeah.
keeping a little piece of that flannel right on the back of my shirt.
It'll be fine. Good for you.
Thank you. Appreciate
And maybe
that.
somewhere down the line, someone will want to help you, manage you, and book you, and do a
That'd be
booking
very
for
cool.
you. Yeah. So you never know. It's out there now. It's out in the universe. There
That's
you go. That's how
Thank
it
you.
goes.
Thank you so
That's how
much
it
for
goes.
this.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to say thanks to Michigan State University Community School of Detroit, and of course Children's Hospital of Michigan Foundation for letting us do this here at the wonderful music town in the hockey town, downtown Detroit, as we do this every Monday live with a local artist, and have them come in here and play their music and just talk and do the PAM exam. No more pre-answers.
Wah, wah.
But if you are a local musician, local meaning, Southeast Michigan, I've even got some Lansing people. So, Michigan, let's do it that way. Let's just say the 100-mile radius. We'll go from that. Just feel free to contact me, and we'll get you on the show, because I've got a full year to book up and have fun with Music Town and all this great music here in the D. So again, thank you,
Thank you.
Mark.
You're very
Q.
welcome. Thank you. Feel
Q.
free to call me.
Q. All right. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming in, and thank you for tuning in to Music Town Detroit, our Facebook page, and WOMC HD3 channel. So thanks again for all of that. And until next week, I'm Pam Rossi. Have a great week.